Thank you for staying with us this morning. Now we have tech and book chat at the same time together. And I have a confident Stavely, who is an IT expert who majors in cybersecurity, business development executive, and author of the book, No Go for Maga. Now this book is Africa's first storified cybersecurity handbook, and you'd get to understand how important this book would be to you. It's a handbook, something that you can refer to, not just something you read and get past. And we're going to talk all about that. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
AKA CC Nerd. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
I have just gone through the chapters in this book and I am blown away. This is something, like you said, it's a handbook. Before we go into looking at the book, what necessitated the need to get this book out?
Okay, so there's been so many books, so many channels have been used to sort of create awareness about cybersecurity, especially as relates to fraud. But they've taken the more prescriptive approach. So don't do this, don't click on that link, don't, very prescriptive. And I find that, maybe that's not also making it relatable for people who are not necessarily in the tech space to understand why they shouldn't take certain actions. And so I also looked at it from the angle of storytelling is a very strong tool. In fact, we buy from brands because we buy into their stories. So we also remember stories. I don't know about you, but stories I was told at 5, I still remember them.
Exactly.
I remember stories that's very strong, basically. So I thought of merging the power of storytelling to drive the kind of education I'd like to see about cybersecurity, because then it's relatable, it's entertaining, so you want to just read those stories. It's also very sticky. So while you might not necessarily remember steps around why you shouldn't do what we say you shouldn't do, but you might remember the whole story, and then it's sticky, and then habits are built over time. Right. So that's the reason why storytelling was leveraged, to make it more relatable, cybersecurity generally, less techy, but basically drives home the point.
Less techy, because last time you were here, man, you had so much information, and everybody was like, look, I need to get it down, but I love your angle, which you're taking today. So let's start. You had chapter 1 says, bad things happen to good people. What's the story behind that? What is that chapter talking about?
Okay, so in the book we have generally 4 chapters, and the chapters are more like sections in the book, and then we have the stories grouped. So we have 20 stories in total. They are so entertaining. They are sprinkled with Nigerian humor. So you read them and smile half the time, or you would see yourself in the stories. So
relatable.
So it's very relatable. So bad things happen to good people is the chapter that puts together stories that are around things that could happen to hardworking people. We have stories in that chapter that talks about
I thought I was
giving my kids a future, which the outcome was not income. Things that business people can generally relate to. Everything looked right until it wasn't. Again, it's a chapter that's really tied towards how businesses might be exposed to cybercrime.
Okay, let's pick out one lesson from that first chapter. From these stories, I must say about 4 or 5 stories here. Alerts, not alert, high phone. What lessons for cyber, against cyber fraud, can we pick out from that particular chapter? Okay.
For starts, this chapter talks about a bit of advanced ways that people could steal your credentials, like your login information. One of the ways we've looked at in this book is you're sent an email, there's an attachment that looks like it's just a Microsoft Word document, but it's not. It's actually a way, it's a file that has been created to steal your login information or to install malicious software. So install harmful code on your computer that gives the bad guys, let me put it that way, the bad guys access to your computer, or that gives them access to monitor everything you type on your computer. So which makes it easy for people to steal your data. So again, people think about fraud general around here like only the calls, but trust me, there's a lot that goes on via email. There's a lot that goes on on other channels that cyber criminals can leverage. So this chapter talks about how they happen, but in a way that you can totally relate and understand.
I love that. Those kind of mails that you see, you are the 1,000th visitor or one thing.
Yeah.
And they just put set top 1 million and make it look professional, and then send it out there, and then you fall Maga. Like the book says.
No go for Maga.
No go for Maga. Okay, so chapter 2. Times have long changed. We have what could have been versus what was. It was all good just yesterday, literally cashless. The one that never happened. Nightmare on Endeared Street. I like that.
So
I like that. Okay.
This particular one talks about, it basically shows, the chapter shows transition of time and how things change for people when they make certain bad decisions. So one of the stories is about what could have been versus what was. So this talks about a student in school who was influenced by another student that was basically driving the best of cars in school, and he was wondering how he was making all of the money, and then he found out that he was, doing
fraud. Was involved in online fraud.
And then for this particular example, it's a real life example that's actually happened in Nigeria, where the FIRS is being impersonated to trick people into downloading harmful software on their computers.
Wow.
So we have seen this particular, most of the stories here are semi-fiction or full real-life stories.
Full real-life stories.
Yes, so these are examples that we've just changed the names or situations around them, storified it all, and then put it out there. So yeah, this one talks about how that person followed suit with his friend, but he wasn't lucky. He got arrested, when the case was investigated, and he was found that they found a lot more information about him than he would have loved to, and they of course took it up and he was arrested. So he ended up behind bars, and that's why you can see the image there, somebody behind bars.
Okay,
so what we have also really done with this book is we've used a lot of pictures. So it's not, you'll find every book, every page in this book is colorful because there's a lot of pictures, there's a lot of illustrations.
I like that.
Yes.
Because techie stuff can be boring at times.
Yes,
and
I can totally relate to that.
But it's something that everybody needs. So we have to find a way to get it out to people in a way that they can learn. And pictures speak 1,000 words. Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Chapter 3 says you can't be too careful. That's a life lesson. You can't be too careful. Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
So what's that chapter all about?
We Nigerians always feel we are so woke, but inside the wokeness, we are still falling Maga. Hello.
As in, like one can be very, very magnified and all of that. So yes, it's true.
So we cannot be too careful. I always say that people should exercise a healthy level of paranoia. So if I'm saying that, say for example, if somebody gives you a call, don't take the person's information, or don't take the fact that the person knows A, B, and C about you to mean that the person is genuine. So basically process whatever you hear with paranoia at the back of your mind. That you would assess, okay, what this person is saying, is this person true? What I know before this person called me, or before this person said this, does it match up? Does it add up? So for example, your banker said, do not give XYZ information. The fact that somebody knows your BVN does not mean you should give your CVV, which the banker said you shouldn't. You shouldn't. So you will need to basically take what you already know and always use that as a litmus test. Your CVV, by the way, the 3-number security behind your card, which once they get to that one, they've gone. You get a lot, right? Wonderful. Chapter 4 says before you hit the next button. That's the final chapter there. But something I also love about this book, I see activities. Yes. Let's just leave that chapter. But you have to get the book. We'll talk about how to get the book. But activities. So what are those activities about? So again, these are stories, so we want to make sure that you have picked up what we want you to pick up on. Okay. And we also want to put in some other things that might not necessarily be fully explained in the book. Okay. So what we have done is we have put together games. Again, we've taken the full range of creative efforts into making these things something that an everyday person will find interesting to do, yes. So we've put in games, so there's a crossword puzzle, for example. Wow. We've put in infographics, so we're explaining certain things and certain concepts that help you become more cyber safe. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so how do we get this book? I know it's an ebook, and then there's a hard copy expected. How do we get this book? Okay, so you have to visit our website, www.nogoformaga.org/book. No Go for Maga is spelled NOGOFALL. MAGA. As it is, Maga.org/book. And that's the way you can. That's the way you can get it. The hard copy is also coming, right? Yes. So online, the e-copy is not going to be full before you go and pirate the thing. You just see tidbits, and then the hard copy will be out by next week, and all of it will be available. Yes. It's a handbook, something that you can always refer to for cybersecurity. Thank you so much, Cicined. Thank you. It's always good having you.